Imagine waking up in a cold stone room, light filtering through a narrow slit of a window. The air smells faintly of smoke and hay. You reach for a jug of water to splash your face, but there's no soap, no soft bar, no bottle, no pleasant scent, just rough cloth, cold water, and maybe some ashes. This was everyday life in the Middle Ages. But people still needed to clean themselves, their clothes, and their homes. So, what did they use as soap in medieval times? Let's step back in time and find out how people managed cleanliness long before modern chemistry gave us the soaps and shampoos we take for granted. To start, it's important to understand that soap, as we think of it today, a solid bar that foams up and smells like lavender, wasn't common or standardized. The concept existed, but the process and ingredients varied dramatically from place to place. Most soap-like substances were made by combining animal fat with ashes. This sounds strange, but it's actually the earliest form of soap known to humanity, dating back even to ancient Babylon, around 2800 BC. The same principle carried on through the medieval period. The simplest medieval soap came from animal fat, known as tallow, mixed with lye, a substance made by soaking ashes in water. When these two ingredients were boiled together, they created a thick, greasy mixture that could clean skin and fabric by breaking down oils and dirt. It wasn't pleasant to use it, smelled bad, left a film, and could be quite harsh, but it worked. Think of it like the medieval version of industrial-strength detergent. Peasants and farmers often made their own soap at home, using leftover fat from cooking and ashes from their hearths. Nothing was wasted in a medieval household, so even waste products found a second life. But here's where it gets more interesting. Soap wasn't used for daily bathing the way we use it now. In medieval Europe, frequent bathing was often discouraged by both social norms and the church. Many believed that too much bathing could make you ill or even morally weak. Warm water could open the pores, they said, allowing sickness to creep in. Cleanliness was more about linen than skin. People changed their underclothes often, believing that fresh fabric next to the body would draw out impurities. So, rather than scrubbing with soap, they relied on regular changes of clothing and occasional washing with simple materials. However, not all medieval people avoided bathing. In fact, in some regions, especially in the early and high Middle Ages, public bathhouses were common. Many were modeled after Roman baths and could be found in large towns and cities. These weren't fancy spas, but social places where people came to wash, talk, and relax. Bath attendants would sometimes use mixtures of herbs, ashes, and natural oils to help clean the body. Rosemary, thyme, lavender, and sage were popular additions, not just for their pleasant smell, but also because people believed they had healing properties. Let's talk about some of the specific ingredients used as soap substitutes. One of the most common was wood ash, particularly from hardwoods like oak or beech. When mixed with animal fat or even plant oils, this created a basic alkaline cleaner. Some rural communities also used clay or sand as scrubbing agents. Imagine washing your hands with a bit of fine sand. It sounds rough, but it could remove grease and grime effectively. Another fascinating medieval cleaner was fuller's earth, a type of natural clay. It was mainly used in the cloth industry for cleaning and whitening wool, but people realized it could also work on skin. Fuller's earth absorbs oils, so it functioned almost like a primitive dry shampoo or facial mask. In fact, this same clay is still used today in cosmetics and skincare. There were also plant-based soaps known as saponins, found in plants like soapwort, ivy, and horse chestnut. Soapwort, in particular, was famous for its gentle cleaning properties. Monks and nuns often grew it in monastery gardens and used it to wash delicate fabrics like wool or silk, since harsh lye-based soaps could damage them. You could crush the leaves or roots of the soapwort plant, mix them with water, and get a surprisingly good lather. Some medieval herbalists even recommended it for washing hair. Speaking of hair, what did medieval people use as shampoo? The idea of shampoo didn't exist yet, but people did clean their hair from time to time. They might have used warm water mixed with herbs like rosemary or nettle, both of which were thought to make hair shiny and healthy. Some added vinegar or fermented barley water as a kind of rinse. It wouldn't smell great, but it got the job done. In more affluent households, perfumed oils or floral waters were used after washing to cover the scent. By the late Middle Ages, soap production had become a small industry, especially in Mediterranean regions like Italy, Spain, and southern France. The city of Marseille, for example, became famous for its soap made from olive oil rather than animal fat. This was a major innovation. Olive oil soap was milder, smelled better, and was considered high quality. It was so prized that it became a valuable trade good. Meanwhile, in Northern Europe, where olive oil was harder to get, soap makers used tallow or fish oil instead, resulting in rougher, smellier versions. The process of making soap wasn't simple. Lye had to be made carefully from ashes, and if the mixture wasn't right, the soap could burn the skin. Soap makers called soapers became skilled craftsmen. In some cities, they even formed guilds to protect their trade secrets. Recipes were guarded closely, passed down through generations. Some included herbs or fragrances like rosewater, honey, or pine resin to improve the scent and feel. For the upper classes, soap wasn't just about cleanliness, it was a luxury product, a sign of refinement. Of course, not everyone had access to soap. For the vast majority of peasants, soap was a rarity. Their cleaning routine often involved simply rinsing with water, scrubbing with sand or cloth, and airing out their clothes. Many would wash their hands and faces daily but only bathe fully a few times a year, often before major festivals like Easter or Christmas. This might sound shocking today, but in an age without central heating, hot water, or private bathrooms, it made sense. Bathing required time, labor, and resources that most couldn't spare. Interestingly, medieval people weren't as dirty as we often imagine. Chroniclers from the time mention people brushing their teeth with twigs or salt, using herbal rinses for bad breath, and cleaning their hands before eating. They were aware of hygiene, just not in the modern scientific way. The difference was in how they understood cleanliness, more symbolic and spiritual than bacterial. In monasteries, for example, cleanliness was tied to godliness. Monks followed strict routines that included washing hands before prayer and meals. They even had specific rooms called lavatoria for washing. Soap made within monasteries was often basic ash, fat, and water, but functional. Some monasteries in southern Europe became major soap producers, selling their products to nearby towns. Let's also look at how laundry was done. Washing clothes in the medieval era was backbreaking work. Women would soak fabrics in lye water, beat them with wooden paddles, and rinse them in streams or communal washing areas. Ash-based soap mixtures helped loosen dirt, but it was a messy, exhausting process. Sometimes, urine was used as a cleaning agent because of its ammonia content. It helped whiten and disinfect fabrics. It sounds awful, but it was common practice. Even in Renaissance times, fullers' shops used vats of stale urine to clean wool.